Where in the world is Bob Ferguson? I actually don't know if I can answer that question. This segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. Get involved. It's not enough just to watch this show, although that is a good way to be involved. But there are tons of opportunities to get out there in your community and really make a difference. So sign up for their newsletter, future42.org. So Bob Ferguson, when he came into office, you'll recall that he preached transparency. Oh, we're going to get back to being transparent. He even hired... Didn't he get Jesse? He hired Jesse Jones, like the infamous consumer watchdog reporter in Seattle. Famous. I wouldn't even say infamous. People were scared of him, though, because he would actually go in there, ask the hard questions, get to the bottom of things. There's not a lot of that reporting happening anymore on TV in Seattle. But he was great at it. And he was getting towards the end of his career. And so Bob Ferguson snatched him up and said he was going to put him in charge of Results Washington, which is the web page that's supposed to sort of track, what the outcomes are for your money that you're giving to the state government in record numbers. So I was like, okay, great. Maybe he'll be more transparent than he was as Attorney General. The issue of transparency is very important to me. You'll know that I fight for it no matter who it is, on the records issues and all of that. But Bob Ferguson just seems to be nowhere to be found. This is from the Center Square. Where in the world is Governor Ferguson? On vacation, and then a conference, and then at meetings. They write, on Friday, Center Square received multiple messages from various sources showing a screenshot of an Office of the Governor alert. It said Governor Bob Ferguson will be traveling outside Washington from Thursday, September 25th through Thursday, October 9th. Whenever the governor travels out of state per state law, the lieutenant governor serves as acting governor of Washington. The alert said Denny Heck is the lieutenant governor, and he will be taking over for Bob Ferguson while he's gone here through October 9th. And the Center Square points out that the alert was not available on the governor's official website on Friday. So internally, they were notified the governor was going to be gone for a couple weeks. And look, this happens. I mean, Jay Inslee used to travel the world on his first climate agenda and running for president. But Governor Inslee always made his calendar public, as have governors before him. It would talk about where he was going to be, how long he was going to be gone. People would get plenty of notice. It wouldn't just be a poof, where's Bob Ferguson? And have the media outlets having to proactively track the governor down. Now, you'll remember... and sorry, let me just finish this. It says, following multiple email inquiries, Ferguson's communications director, Brianna Aho, finally responded. The governor's on vacation through next week, and then he'll be at a conference and meetings on the East Coast. He's in daily contact with the office. So now you have a situation where the media, where they used to just be able to say, hey, can I see the governor's calendar? Have to send multiple emails to try to figure out where the governor is. Because people in state government were getting this notice he was going to be gone. It wasn't made public, and it's very unusual. And it's not the only thing he's doing in this regard that's unusual. Remember a couple weeks ago, actually I think this is late August, the Washington State Standard, which is, I would say, a liberal publication. I know they don't call themselves that, but they definitely skew left, and they have given very favorable coverage of Bob Ferguson. Well, they were frustrated enough with him not being transparent about his schedule that they started a new column called simply, Where is Governor Bob Ferguson? Where they would do their best to try to track down where the governor of the state was. In it, they wrote in their first edition, with most jobs, you have to give your boss an idea of where you are and what you'll be doing during the workday. Governor Bob Ferguson, who works for the people of Washington state, has not been doing this consistently during his first 7 months in office. Ferguson has mostly abandoned the practice of sending out advisories. The rare calendar updates that do go out are typically incomplete and sometimes arrive after the fact. They went on to write, the handful of public appearances Ferguson has given notice about since the legislative session wrapped up, and its subsequent flurry of bill signings, have often focused on criticizing the president or congressional Republicans, but the governor's responsibilities extend beyond reacting to federal policy. So here you have a left-leaning news publication that pointed out it's highly unusual for us to not know where the governor is. He works for us after all. When he sends out advisories, sometimes they come after the event has already taken place. And when he does get one out on time, you can bet it's probably about Donald Trump. Because that is genuinely the only thing that seems to matter to him. And what was the last thing he did before leaving? So remember, the out of office is September 25th through October 9th. What is the last thing you think he did? Give me one guess. Last thing you think he did before he left on this mystery hiatus? Oh, he held a round table with all the state leaders talking about what? Of course, Donald Trump. That's all he talks about. That's all he does. He says this week, and I don't even think this was on September 25th. I think he was gone by then. It was a couple days earlier. I gathered all 9 statewide elected officials. We're working together to protect Washingtonians from the Trump administration and continue to move our state forward. At our meeting, we discussed ongoing litigation efforts from AG Nick Brown, a new report showing the devastation of Trump's tariffs for Washington state families, protecting Washingtonians' data from overreach by the federal government. All of your statewide elected officials are working very hard to be extremely coordinated in dealing with what's coming at us from Washington, D.C. Well, they might be working extremely hard, but after he posted this, he's out of the state, somewhere on the East Coast in meetings. What do you want to bet he's having meetings about President Donald Trump? And look, you want to throw in a couple things about Trump here and there, fine. But it seems to be the singular focus of every Democrat in any position of power at the state level and the local level. It's an obsession. And until you have some semblance, and that's why I gave the Washington State Standard credit, at least they called him out not only on hiding his whereabouts, but on obsessively focusing on federal policy when he's the governor of a state and when there's so many pressing issues the state is dealing with. I knew Bob Ferguson was going to be more of kind of the same for Washington. I mean, obviously we've had a Democrat in the governor's office for 40 years. We had 12 years of Jay Inslee, and Bob Ferguson was just sort of the heir apparent that Democrats pushed in. But I'll give it to Jay Inslee. He was at least transparent. He didn't use executive privilege to hide public records like so many other Democrats in Olympia do, which I gave him credit for. If you wanted his calendar, you could get it. I remember when I was a news reporter still and I was covering his presidential campaign. To their credit, they made sure that as soon as I wanted it, I had a full calendar of when he would be campaigning, when he would be in the state, and we could track him and see what he was doing and report on it to the public, which was our job. But Bob Ferguson, for some reason, either is so emboldened because, in this state, he can keep that job as long as he wants, that he doesn't feel the need to, or he's trying to hide what he's doing for some sort of reason. So is it nefarious, or is it just that he's so drunk on power he doesn't believe he's accountable to you anymore? Either one's not particularly good. All right, this segment was brought to you in partnership with our friends at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. Make sure you sign up for their newsletter to be alerted to opportunities to do just that.